for comments after our presentation. And if you have any comments or questions, place them in the chat box if you'd rather, and we'll look at them after the meeting presentation. And afterwards, if you do have a question, use the raise hand button in the reactions, and we'll be ready to go in a couple of seconds. Just okay, I think we're all set. Just hold on for a second. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty getting the presentation to start. Just bear with us a couple of seconds. Okay. Again, tonight we're going to be making a presentation regarding our Route 8 Waterbury Branch Line Corridor study that is just wrapping up, and we wanted to provide an opportunity tonight to discuss some of the key findings of the study, as well as recommendations that we will be putting forward. Before I begin with the presentation, I just want to explain a little bit what the NBCOG is. We are a council of governments centered around the city of Waterbury. We're made up of 19 cities and towns. Bristol is the sort of the northeast corner of our region, Shelton at the south end. And based on the 2020 census, we had 450,000 residents. So we're a fairly decent sized region. What does the NBCOG do? As indicated, we are the state designated council of governments, and what we are assigned to do is various planning tasks involving transportation, regional land use, environment, and we engage the public in everything we do. We're also a federally designated MPO for the Waterbury area, which is called the Central Naugatuck Valley MPO, and we're also part of the Greater Bridgeport Valley MPO. Part of our mission is to promote shared services, work to make the region more sustainable, and we also serve as an emergency management function. The region that we are located in is, like many places, is a region in motion. We have home to a lot of several large employment centers throughout the region. We have an extensive highway network that connects our region. 84 goes through sort of the central part of the region through the center of Waterbury. We have 691, makes connections to Interstate 91 and 95. The Route 8 Expressway runs north and south. And on a daily basis, we have over 2 million daily trips. And those trips, travel to in all directions to and from the region. Hartford in the northeast, New Haven in the southeast, Bridgeport, Stamford, and the rest of Southwest Connecticut, Fort Danbury, New York, and then northward to Torrington. What are some of the challenges that we're going to be facing over the next 20 years? In this slide shows some of those. Population in the region will be growing, which will translate in increased traffic congestion, delays. So we have to sort of focus on some alternative transportation modes to try to address those projected congestion and increases in traffic. The population is growing, but it's also aging. We're expecting more people to be older than 65 in the coming years. So mobility and access is going to become an issue going forward. The way people shop is changing. A lot more online retailing is taking place. And that's going to be changing how goods are moved throughout the region. And one of the other key findings that we're looking at is population is shifting back to the cities. Younger people want to live in a downtown area where they don't necessarily need a car. So we're trying to focus in on providing more transit options and walkable downtowns. And we have to invest in our existing infrastructure. We're not likely to be building anything new, so we have to maintain what we currently have. As I said, Route 8 is the main north-south spine through the region, and that's sort of the focus of this study. The problem with Route 8 currently is that it was built over a period of about 20 some odd years, starting in the early 1960s, and it doesn't always meet the modern design standards, and because of that, there's high incident of crashes on the expressway. And it also carries a lot more traffic than it was ever designed to carry. One of the critical bottlenecks in the region is at the Commodore Bridge over the Houstonic River between Derby and Shelton. That currently operates at a very poor level of service during the AM and PM peak hours. Over 80,000 vehicles a day traverse the bridge. And about 29,000 are daily commuters going from the North Valley south over the bridge, to points, to the southeast. And if we had to rebuild that bridge to accommodate the traffic that is being generated or being carried, it'd be upwards of several hundred to $1 billion to actually do. A very expensive price tag that we're looking at alternatives to having to rebuild that bridge. Waterbury branch line is a key asset through the region. It runs from Waterbury to the north, connects with the New Haven main line on its way to Bridgeport and Stamford on a daily basis. The state DOT has recently completed major infrastructure enhancements on the line, including installing a centralized traffic signal control system, positive train control, passing siding, and just this past summer, they increased service to add 7 new train trips each day. Despite those enhancements and improvements, there are still some issues with traveling on the Waterbury rail line. Connections remain difficult. Equipment is one of the biggest issues. It's unreliable and poor condition. The stations currently lack modern amenities or amenities that passengers are really looking for. There's poor communication. There's no real-time traveler information, so if there's delays on the line, that information is not easily communicated. And we need to make better connections between the nearby downtown areas of the host station areas and to the station itself. One of the key problems also is there's no direct access to New Haven. A lot of people work in the North Valley, travel to New Haven daily for jobs. Right now, they'd have to travel all the way to Bridgeport and transfer to another train to get to New Haven. Local bus service, we have a number of transit districts who operate in the region, but the service is fragmented. As this map is showing, there aren't the connections that we'd like to see up and down the entire region. It's like you can get from New Haven to Waterbury or New Haven to Derby Shelton, but those are long trips. You can get from Waterbury to New Britain and Hartford by the CT Fast Track, but you can't get to Bristol directly. So there's a lot of fragmentation of the service, and there's a lot of underserved or unserved areas that we want to try to address. So a lot of those issues that we know about and the challenges that we're looking at is what sort of led us to undertake what we call our alt modes assessment. And again, the idea is to look at alternative options to driving alone or driving at all. So that was the main focus of this study. It was a multitask engineering planning study. And again, it focuses in on the Route 8 and the Waterbury rail line corridors. we wanted to look at the travel needs of residents throughout the Naugatuck Valley. And as part of that effort, our first step was to really look at the existing condition of service on the rail line. And to try to enhance transit connectivity and opportunities, we looked at transit-oriented development opportunities, the feasibility of bus rapid transit. Bus rapid transit is a enhanced bus service that operates more like a commuter rail, but it has the flexibility of bus service. And again, the real key, as I mentioned earlier, is to try to avoid those expensive highway expansion costs. The study was initiated in 2017, and the NVCOG selected a design team to help with doing the study. NVCOG is serving as the administrator of the project. AECOM, a large planning and engineering firm, was the prime consultant, and they subcontracted, as part of their team, CDM Smith, Harriman, Planning for Places, who did responsible for some planning support and build out scenarios, and Zubik and Carr Associates for data collection. So it's a fairly very, very good team that we assembled to do this study. And each of these firms had sort of their prime tasks and specialties that led a lot to the final product. This is the project area that we focused in on. It's basically from the city of Waterbury down to city of Bridgeport. And it focused on the Route 8 Expressway, the Bridgeport Avenue corridor in Shelton because of the extensive corporate office development along that corridor. And then the station areas of the 5 stations between Naugatuck and Derby Shelton that host Waterbury rail train service. The city of Woodbury itself wasn't really included in this study because they were undertaking their own assessment at the same time. So we didn't want to duplicate the efforts that the city was doing. So we focused in on the 5 stations south of Naugatuck. And throughout the study, these are the tasks that we completed. We conducted an onboard passenger survey and tried to do basically 100% count of everybody who was riding that train. We hit all trains over a course of a 3-day period. And we did hand out opinion surveys. So we wanted to understand what the riders felt about the service and what they thought were some of the needs. That information was rolled into an existing conditions report to identify deficiencies and needs. And then we also, as mentioned earlier, we did this TOD scenarios report that I try to identify opportunity sites and try to assess what people thought would be the vision for a TOD development within their community. And then we did the BRT assessment, which looked at different options for running a system through the corridor. And that all led to a capital improvement plan for the Woodbury line. And we also held 2 rail summits where we presented some of the capital improvement plan projects for the Woodbury line. That consisted of presentations to our regional state legislators and mayors and first selectmen representing the towns within the region. And we're putting together a video that will visualize a lot of what we're talking about tonight, and that will be posted on our website very soon. Just want to go through the TOD very quickly. Again, it integrates transportation, land use, and environment. It's the idea is to provide a higher density mixed use land uses within a compact area close to a train station or a major bus transfer point. And again, the one TOD does not fit all areas. So we really wanted to tailor what we wanted to see in each of the downtown areas served by the Waterbury rail line to get people, what do they want? So we conducted a visual preference exercise where people could rate, as on this slide, there are different options of what a TOD would look like, and they vary. So what might be appropriate in the town of Naugatuck may not be appropriate in the city of Derby. So, that's what we came up with. We came up with model blocks that would highlight a typical type of mixed-use development in each of the towns. The TOD benefits range from health and safety, enhanced transportation choices, sustainability, and it will have an economic impact in these areas because it creates a much more walkable area. It increases property values, and it really makes a downtown much more vibrant and attractive place to live. Under the bus rapid transit assessment, the idea was to try to develop a direct, fast connection via transit, in this case buses, between Derby, Shelton Station, and downtown Bridgeport. The GBT, Greater Bridgeport Transit, currently operates an express bus, but it's a little bit limited. So we wanted to see, what opportunities were to complement that express service or enhance it to better serve the Bridgeport Avenue corridor. We looked at 5 alternatives, including a median running Route 8, shoulder running Route 8. Again, like I said, just an enhancement of the GBT's express route. Then also looked at possibly implementing an express bus route directly between Waterbury and Bridgeport using Route 8 as much as possible. And then a BRT system on Bridgeport Avenue, which would utilize bus-only lanes, transit priority, signalized intersections, things like that. Again, the BRT is really defined by trying to introduce sort of like more of a commuter rail type of service, but using transit buses that have much more flexibility. So what are our recommendations that we've come up with? This is sort of the real result of the study. We came up with some immediate and short-term recommendations, as well as longer-term vision for what we want to see. Immediately, again, what we'd like to look at is continue the upgrades that the state has started and implemented in recent years. The signalization and the siding allow the opportunity for more trains to operate on the line seamlessly and safely. They did add the 7 new trips, but what we'd like to see is much more extensive service in looking at 30-minute headways, especially during the peak hours. This way, riders will have a much more comfort level that they can make their connections. And currently, right now, if somebody misses a connection, they could have to wait in 2 hours before the next train arrives, and that doesn't allow people to really feel secure that they can make their whether they're going to work or somewhere else. They just need that more certainty that they can make that connection. And as I mentioned, the opinion surveys that we did on the Waterbury line train, one of the biggest issues was the condition of the current rail equipment. It's subject to breakdowns. It's older. It's some of the comments were that they're unclean, not well maintained. So in the short term, the state, we're suggesting the state really commit to acquiring new rail equipment for the line, including dual power locomotives and modern rail coaches. These need to be designed, and it takes, it's probably a 5-year time between they start putting together specifications and the delivery of these things. So we have to start that design and specification work now. Currently the stations are not much more than a bus shelter, with either a low level platform or no platform. And so again, we're looking at a program that would rehabilitate or construct new station buildings at all the Waterbury Rail Line station, providing the full amenities, real-time traveler information, good communications, uh, implementing new landscaping along in the station area, so it's much more attractive, much more appealing place to be, and also making those connections to the adjacent downtowns. And the longer term actions, again, we feel would transform the rail line to a much more modern, state-of-the-art system that could attract quite a few new riders. Again, longer term, we need to actually purchase the equipment. Again, the dual-powered locomotives will allow the service to actually extend all the way into New York City, because the diesel type locomotives are used now can't access the tunnels heading into Grand Central Terminal. We see implementing a BRT system, preferably in the median of Route 8. The median has the space to actually accommodate, and it would provide that dedicated busway that would really, provide the high quality, high speed service that we'd be looking at. And to accommodate the BRT, we'd have to, create a transit hub that would serve the BRT and then make connections to the adjacent office parks and other businesses up and down Bridgeport Avenue. And tied to, the project would be to really incentivize TOD developments within the downtown areas. Because as rail service becomes more attractive, the downtowns are going to be more of an attractive place for people to live and work, and so we have to be prepared to create the types of housing and commercial activities and work opportunities that that all complement the new train service. And one of the more unique or more visionary types of projects that we are looking at is we understand that adding more service on the Waterbury rail line may be difficult to do because of capacity issues on the main line. The main line can only handle a set number of trains, and it's currently almost operating close to capacity. So even though we can operate more trains on Waterbury rail line, we may not be able to actually do that because they can't gain access to the main line. So one of the ideas that we're looking at, and under this study did a sort of preliminary assessment, was looking at developing a transfer station where on the main line, where Woodbury trains could meet in the Haven line trains, and then operate more like a shuttle type service on the Waterbury line. And then the rendering at the bottom is sort of showing how that could work. You'd have cross-platform connection, and it would basically be a Waterbury train would come down to meet on the Haven train. The Haven train would stop, and people could just get on and on their way. This also has the opportunity of providing connections directly to New Haven, so they wouldn't have to travel to Bridgeport. And if we did something like this, we'd still retain some of through service. So these are the key recommendations from the study. So what are the next steps? We want to continue this public and stakeholder outreach and engagement. This meeting tonight is sort of the first and several opportunities that we're considering. We're going to have a comment period that will extend through January 15th. And that actually, gives people an opportunity to provide more comments that they may have. And so we will be having a second public information meeting sometime in January, near the end of January. But I just wanted to relate some of the ongoing projects, related to this area. The state DOT did receive a RAISE grant from the US DOT in 2021 to rehabilitate and renovate the Derby Shelton Station. So that is a project that's under design, and will be heading out to construction in the next couple of years. that will add high-level platforms at the station plus the canopy, and then create some dedicated bus transfer points between the bus and the rail. The state has also submitted an application under Fall Station Accessibility Program, again, under USDOT. And this grant application would provide funding to install high-level platforms at 3 of the older stations along the line, Ansonia, Seymour, and Beacon Falls, excuse me. And then NBCOG is going to be looking on developing a TOD policy and implementation strategy. The state is also looking at relocating the Naugatuck rail station. That project is moving forward. It'll take it from its current location and move it a little bit closer to downtown, as well as closer to several vacant parcels that are sort of prime candidates for redevelopment. And then NBCOG is looking at continuing the assessment of BRT. This part of this study was kind of a high level assessment. We want to do a much more detailed investigation of the opportunity for doing that, as well as a much more detailed feasibility assessment and cost analysis of a transfer station that would come connect the Waterbury rail line with the Haven line. So that's the presentation. We'll open it now up for questions and comments. My contact information is located on the slide, and we encourage everybody to visit the NBCOG website that's shown on the screen for the project, all the project documents and an update of where we are on the study. And that leads us to questions and comments.
Anybody online like to unmute and ask a question?
Is there anything in the chat? Okay. Now, if not hearing any questions or comments, again, just a reminder to this is the start of the dialogue, and any comments or suggestions that anybody wants to make, please visit us at on the NBCOG's website, or like I said, email me directly. Again, the website does have all the reports that were completed online, as well as a page that will explain where we are.
We do have a question in the chat from James Ramos. Branch lines worldwide are operated with EMU equipment, which accelerates faster and is lower cost to operate. Was this looked at?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to look at is the locomotives that currently operate on the line are diesel powered. They're older equipment. And we are suggesting the dual mode powered equipment because of two things. One, they will accelerate faster and operate better, but it also provides an opportunity that once they get on the main line, they can continue farther along and actually serve trips on the main line, because they can actually go into the Grand Central Terminal where the diesels aren't allowed currently. So yes, that
was asking about a diesel multiple unit.
Oh,
Yeah, he said diesel.
oh, okay. Not specifically, but again, we are looking at upgrading the equipment, and that will be something that we'll look at in more detail. But I believe between DOT and us, we're looking at the possibility of the dual powered. Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you for joining us. We'll keep the line open for a little bit longer in case you can think of anything else. But again, thank you for coming, and look forward to any other comments. But and definitely keep checking back on our website, because, like I said, we will be holding additional outreach.
We're done.
I was gonna leave it open for 5 minutes or so, just to see if anybody. Do what?
There you were for the comment when we were ending the meeting.
Oh, okay. We don't need it.
Mhm.
All right, I think we're gonna close the meeting.